we figured it out.
Yeah. Finally.
Hell yeah.
After 6 years.
Dang, we've leveled up, dude.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to Betamax. My name is Fidel. Joining me on this episode is Jose.
What's up?
What's up?
You should turn the mics down.
Oh, yeah, huh? There we go.
There we go.
Damn, that killed a lot of noise.
Yeah, it's because they're not sitting there.
Yeah, that's why.
Hell yeah.
And also, they're kind of facing out.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, mine is too, but...
Yeah, and the sound's going to reverberate inside here from the
Yeah.
So what's up, dude?
Not much, dude. I'm tired.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same.
Long week.
Same.
Long month.
Same.
Long day.
Yeah,
long
dude.
life. When will the suffering end?
Probably never, dude.
Yeah, I know. I feel like my mic keeps going down. Let me adjust it real quick. Sorry to everybody to hear the mic moving noises. But guess what? I don't give a fuck. Fuck you.
I don't give a fuck.
I don't give a fuck, homie. So, this one's gonna be a serious one, right?
Yeah, I guess so.
I think so.
Yeah. Serious-ish, as one could be, I guess.
So, I've been seeing a lot of people saying that Andor ruined Star Wars.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm curious to know why they would say that.
A lot of Star Wars is too woke now.
Really?
Yeah.
That's lame.
That is very lame. So you finished both seasons, right?
Yeah.
So have I. And what did you think of the first season?
Well, I thought the first season was, I thought at the time, a redeeming quality for Star Wars. So, I mean, I really enjoyed it,
Yeah.
It got me excited about Star Wars, I wasn't left feeling the same way that I felt with previous, iterations and movies and stuff, where I'm just like, man, really underwhelming, kind of annoying, it didn't leave me feeling like that. I wanted more, so I'm glad that we did, because season 2 was sick.
I would say, damn, I'm pretty loud.
Yeah, you could probably turn mine up a little bit.
Turn yours up a little bit?
The headphones.
Or the headphones?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's good.
That's good?
Yeah, thanks.
I would say Andor is probably the most faithful Star Wars story to what Star Wars is about.
100%.
Just because, it's very smart. It's very, grounded. And it doesn't feel like a fantasy or like a science fiction world,
No.
It's very, very relatable. And I think what helped with that is the fact that there wasn't, these, heroes, superhero type characters with lightsabers and stuff, It showed a lot of working class people. It portrayed a lot of working class people. Whether it was they were in, a fucking... in outer space and on these different planets, with these funny names, I guess you could say, but it still was portraying the working class.
It felt lived in.
Yes.
Yes. Because identifiable, in a way, the way that you get to see just people in the trenches of everyday stuff, it doesn't take you on this fantasy sci-fi adventure.
Yeah.
Like the original films. I mean, obviously we're talking about this because of them.
Yeah.
But like you're saying, the way that it's so true to it, it's not so much piggybacking off of that main idea and blowing that up. It's adding more depth to the story that we started with, which I would also include the original prequel trilogy as well. Just because, I mean, I thought after finishing both seasons that it added so much more context to those two, it felt so much more George Lucas-y in a way,
Yeah.
I don't know. It doesn't seem like somebody else is trying to take that and turn it out,
Yeah. Yeah. And I just everything everything in this show, like from the characters to the set pieces, just everything in the show just felt like they took their time with, like they cared for it.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
The
Like
way they curated like cultures and traditions, like like you're saying, like the set pieces, like the way that like certain like window frames were shaped, in these buildings, uh, and in season 2 you get to see a lot of what Mon Mothma's like where her people, like where her customs and traditions come from in like the wedding scene,
Yeah.
and it's like that's it was kind of cool, even though like I felt like the dancing was like mad long, but like it was still cool to kind of see that, like it took a break from like the swashbuckling aspect of it, like this, like the space battles, which don't get me wrong, super dope, but like I loved how it focused on just like this more deeper understanding the of the world that Star Wars exists in. I feel like I sympathize so much more with what happened to the people of Alderaan. You know what I'm saying? After being so immersed into like these different customs and peoples and stories through Andor, like it hits different now when I see Alderaan getting blown up by the Death Star, dude.
Yeah.
It hits different. It even makes like Rogue One hit different and A New Hope hit different.
Yeah, and I think it is like kind of jumping around here, but that whole the massacre on Gorman, that whole like I think it was episode 8.
Episode 8.
Yeah. Like I feel like the reason that episode specifically was so impactful is just because you see the buildup getting to that point. You see like everybody's story that which eventually converges there, like, and just like how fucking brutal it is. And like I feel like when fuck man, it's kind of hard because this show made me think so much.
Yeah,
it's kind of hard to like articulate my thoughts on it. You know?
It's hard not to feel excited when talking about it because you enjoyed it so much.
Because like what I'm trying to do is like kind of do of comparison to when Alderaan was blown up initially in A New Hope.
Yeah,
like it was just like that. It was quick, like you didn't know the people on there. Like it didn't really show the people. You just showed this planet being blown up. And just kind of move on from it.
Yeah.
So and at that point in time, it wasn't necessarily like impactful in the way I feel like you see like all this shit go down in Gorman, like that shit hit hard.
Yeah.
But like I also agree that it does add that impact to Alderaan being blown up.
Yeah, like now you can sympathize so much more with Leia when that happens before her eyes, and like the cruelty in which, like yeah, you look at that at face value that's a cruel thing that they had done like all the way around, you know, like leave it to the guy who slaughtered children to like do something like that, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's fucked up in front of his own daughter and shit. That's fucked up, dude. That guy's nuts. But yeah, dude, like it's no more face value like these things because of Andor.
Yeah.
Like one of the things that really stood out to me, kind of like how you're saying, is because of the way that especially in season 2, the buildup and the curation of how the seeds of propaganda, where they start, like the components that are involved, like as these things occur, such as in going into this one planet because they have a certain mineral that they need to invest into this secret weapon that they're developing, the Death Star, and they're going to do it under the guise of this, and like basically with Gorman, they were trying to exploit Gorman's resource like they did in Jeddah with the kyber crystals.
Yeah.
And it was to like a fuel source or something for the Death Star or something like that.
I believe so.
And like the way that they were trying to create and control the narratives, and how like it shows even like the media, running with these particular stories and having like no other interest other than like their own, like as if they owe no like allegiance to the Empire or the people of Gorman.
Yeah.
They owe allegiance to ratings and what's clickbait kind of thing, you know. I mean, I can see why people think it's woke because it's super allegorical, but I mean, no, dude, yeah, like the way that it makes all those things hit differently to where after, you know, in Rogue One, Darth Vader starts fucking slaughtering everybody in that corridor before actually boarding the ship that Leia's on, right? After all this Gorman shit went down, you know, and he has a conversation with that one of the officers, and I wrote down, the dude said, the officer said, in A New Hope, he said, hey, like he's like, if word of this gets out, it might create more sympathy for the rebellion in the Senate. And Darth Vader's response was, send a distress signal and then inform the Senate that everyone on board was killed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So then, like, as soon as I watched that, because I immediately went into watching Rogue One and A New Hope afterwards. Like I had to. And like, I went into it intentionally trying to catch the things that, like, now the lore window has now opened more, you know?
Yeah.
And that immediately stood out. And that's right in the beginning of the movie. You know, it stood out to me right away. And I was like, oh, shit, like, that hits so much more different now, having seen the way that the Empire engaged in the creation of all that propaganda through the series of Andor, you know? Like, dude. Like, it's good writing.
Yeah.
It's good writing. Like, they were very intentional, very mindful of it, you know? Like, they took their time, you know? The way that they, how much better can you tie it in, you know? It makes everything that happens in the Senate in the prequel trilogy make more sense now, you know? Like, well, this is how Liberty dies, a thunderous applause, you know what I mean? Like, the dude consolidated power and controlled the entire the blockade from the World Trade Federation, the Trade Federation, you know, because those guys were on the outskirts, not having any type of allegiance to the Empire or whatever, or AKA the Separatists, you know, but leverage those dudes to have the droid army to wage war, you know, all this crazy self-serving appetite, like self-interest, you know, and the way that like that, how he infiltrated into the Senate in those movies, and the way you see that happen, and then how the way that you see how he finally dissolves the Senate. Don't they talk about that in? No, they talk about that in in Andor. Do they mention how he did they mention in Andor season 2, like at the end where he dissolves the Senate, or
I don't remember, to be honest.
I think it might even be in the conversation, like when Darth Vader in A New Hope walks into that room where he chokes that fool because he says his lack of faith is disturbing.
Yeah.
They talk about like, oh, the Senate or whatever, and he walks in and he's like, no, he's dissolved the Senate. Like, that's it. There's no more Senate. There's just the Emperor, you know? Like, the way that, like, you went from, you know, Phantom Menace to New Hope, and then the way that, like, the Andor story with all these different characters and all these different layers, like, just tie those two together so well, dude. Like, it's the writing for me that just really made this show what it is, bro.
That also shows like how great the show was, because it's amplifying all these other properties that like came before it, adding like just that impact to those stories. Like yeah, I immediately watched Rogue One after. I didn't go into A New Hope though, which now I wish I did.
You should. I mean, you should. You still.
Yeah. And like, just the ending of Rogue One. Like, for those who, Rogue One came out so long ago. Like,
yeah.
So
like what 20?
It's like 14 or 15 or something like that. It just makes like Cassius Andor's death, like, dude, like he died not knowing he was gonna be a father. Like,
oh yeah, dude.
Like, he had no idea that Bix was pregnant.
Yeah, dude. And the way that she knew that, like, that she had to leave him in order to, because he would
because she saw how important he was to the rebellion.
Exactly.
And he was gonna leave it. Like, he wanted to leave it for her.
Had he known about that,
yeah,
he would have chosen.
Oh yeah.
Like, the family, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure, dude.
She made that sacrifice for the rebellion.
100%.
Because she saw how important it was and like how necessary it was.
100%.
Like,
the way that whole rebellion factor was so much bigger than anyone's individual like situation for a lot of these different
Yeah.
characters. You know, it goes to show how like the lengths in which people are willing to go to because of the nature of that oppression and the suffering at the hands of the empire. You know, like
Yeah.
I mean, Alderaan. I mean, you can't get crazier than that.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. I loved like how brutal it was.
Yeah, dude. Things I never thought they were gonna touch on in like a
100%.
Star Wars property. The whole like drug abuse,
Yeah.
the like the assault.
Yeah, dude.
Like what?
Yeah, the trauma
Yeah.
that Bix experiences after having been tortured, you know, like I thought those were amazing scenes with her like struggling with her nightmares, you know, and she was just medicating her nightmares with whatever that substance was, dude.
Yeah.
And she ended up abusing it, you know.
Yeah.
It literally made her like more of a liability
Yeah.
for the rebellion. And prior to that, she was someone who, you know, was like an asset, if you
Yeah.
will, you know. I loved because I mean, even in the first season, dude, they open up really strong with like Andor, like,
Yeah.
wait, he killed a cop
It was
or
like an officer. I don't know exactly.
yeah, some guard or whatever.
Yeah.
There's a sign at that post. Yeah, dude. But then like that, don't get me wrong, that hooked me right away because I was like, oh shit, okay, Star Wars, okay, I see you. Dude, when it got to episode 8 of season 2, like, especially when, um, what's the guy's name?
Cyril.
Cyril. When he gets blasted,
Dude, his whole story is heartbreaking.
bro.
It is heartbreaking to me because you could tell he's a misinformed person. He's like
He was so ambitious.
he's very ambitious, and he just wants justice, you know, like
Yeah.
he's very like, oh, like that's not like that's against the law type of
Yeah,
person.
he
like,
was very law and order, but not in like a like I'm gonna abuse it for myself kind of way.
yeah, and dude, he was taken advantage of, like,
Oh, dude.
and then what was like, to me, I think he had like one of the worst deaths because he finally sees Cassius Andor.
Yeah.
And they have like their back and forth. And
He doesn't even remember him.
dude, like the fact that he's
How-
like, who are you?
How insignificant he must have. No wonder he got enraged. You
Yes.
know what I mean?
Because like all he wanted was that recognition. He wanted to like be recognized for doing good, like, for standing for justice. Like,
Yeah.
And
he had just had that fucking conversation with his girlfriend.
yeah.
Who he was just like, oh, so this was all a lie? You know, like, dude, how pathetic and low he must have felt in that moment. And then
So
seeing that
insignificant.
and then having boom.
Like, who are you?
Yeah, the tip of your iceberg is standing before you, and he has no idea
Yeah.
who you are.
That was,
Dude.
when he said, who are you? I was like, fuck.
Dude. And the way that fool died, like,
Yeah.
as soon as that happened, I was like, right when I thought this episode couldn't get better, it just did, you know? And then even at the end of that, when you see, what's her name? Didra, like having a moment of like you can see that she was struggling with the fact that she knows that she had done something so horrific, something so morally, like she sacrificed all of her morals for her career trajectory, you know, and it was at the cost of the people of Gorman, you know. It was all her fault.
Yeah.
They even say it, dude. Like, I'm the trigger, you're the finger, you know, like. And then when she went like as if she was like hyperventilating or like choking, you know, like she was I got that as like she was so sick or whatever, you know. I remember seeing something online where somebody said that it was like maybe like a parallel to like the Sith and like the choking like fetish that, you know, they have on the Empire and all that shit. And it was like the Empire like choking what's left of your humanity, you know, in that moment. And I was like, oh shit, that's actually pretty, I don't know, pretty spot on, I suppose.
I think she's also like an example of like how expendable you can be when you think you're like, she thought she was I feel like she kind of paralleled Cyril in the fact that like they just wanted that recognition to move up in the ranks, you know.
But she was cutthroat.
She was very cutthroat, and I don't think that like I don't think like her feelings were fabricated at all towards him. I think she did like have feelings for him.
Yeah, I agree.
Because I noticed that when it come to like these atrocious things that she had to do, it was like nothing to her, but she was so like stressed and like so like nerve wracked about meeting his mom.
Yeah.
So like obviously she cared. You
Yeah,
know?
I got it as like she was more so because of she recognizes the level of anxiety that she brings Cyril. You know, and for her it was just kind of like having to exist around that until during that conversation she decided that she was just not going to do that anymore.
But yeah, like going back to what I had said about like she's an example of like how expendable they are, because no matter all she did, like all the bad shit and like the fucking just scummy shit that she did, once they didn't really need her anymore, they could just allow her to rot in jail.
Yeah.
Like they didn't give a fuck.
Yeah, dude.
Like, oh, you mean you're in there already? Whatever. Fuck
Yeah,
you.
and it's easy to be like, yeah, fuck you, bitch. You know, you got what you deserved, you know, which is true.
Yeah.
But like you're saying, that's also true. You know, you're like, damn, like it's hard not to feel sympathetic for her in that way, because she got the wool pulled over her eyes too.
Yeah.
Like it was never about anything other than just control.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Power and control, I guess.
And then like his mom, I feel was like an example of like how the propaganda of making Gorman look disgusting. And was working.
Yeah, it's like your boomer like
aunt,
you know.
Yeah, exactly.
The one that just like reposts all like the fake news shit. Yeah.
Yeah, and it says like they're bringing all the rapists and shit over here. That aunt.
Yeah, she totally thinks that that the Mandalorian immigrants are eating like
they're eating their dogs.
Yeah, eating their dogs and their cats, their banthas. You know?
Yeah. But it's just funny, just like kind of touching on that too, is like how people saying like, oh, it's like so woke, like what
red flag.
Yeah, that, and then just people like I understand people are saying like, oh, it parallels a lot of like what's happening in today's world, you know? And like I would say like yes, but also like this has happened a lot.
Yeah, exactly.
Like throughout time, like it's happened so many times. So like
that's why I say red flag, dude, because it's kind of like this is nothing new. Like these are you've been told this story before many times over. The places are different, the names are different, but the goals are the same and the results are the same.
Yes.
You know, this is nothing new. And if you're seeing, if you're feeling like, oh, this is too woke, it's too like, it makes me feel like, you know, this is in itself propaganda, red flag.
Yeah.
Then that means, okay, so then you recognize that we kind of have a similar problem.
Yeah.
So you can either sympathize with either the Empire or the rebellion here, you know? So which one is it, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't get it. I don't understand that. Like,
no, I mean, I get why people could see that, but that's what I'm saying. Like, that's a red flag, because then, you know, you're choosing to sympathize for the Empire. Then,
yeah,
like
you're on the dark side, homie.
Yeah, like, you know, Gorman, Alderaan, the younglings, like in that previous instance on Gorman, like the. What was it? Ferrix, you know, like, dude, like that last time that they did that spiritual tradition that they did, that's the last time they had no idea that was the last time that they were ever going to do that.
Yeah.
You know, like committing genocide, like, come on. And if you're thinking like that shit's woke, and it's like, bro,
even how it showed like they're the ones that kind of incited the violence.
Exactly.
Like to kick everything off, to justify them shooting at these protesters. Mm-hmm. Like, dude.
I mean, nothing new.
Nothing new.
Nothing new.
Nothing new at all, dude.
You just don't like seeing it.
Yeah. Yes.
You just don't like being confronted with the truth.
Yeah.
You know, it's hard to look at. It's hard to acknowledge. You don't want to live in the world where that's the reality, you know?
And I do understand sometimes people are like, I watch this kind of stuff because I want to shut off what's the outside world because it's too much. It's fucking heartbreaking, whatever. Like, I get that, but sometimes you have to look at that shit. Like, you can't ignore it. Like, why? Because if you're ignoring it, you might as well just allow it to keep happening.
Yeah.
Like
yeah, think about it, dude. Like, it's literally like the Empire has no empathy ever at all in any character.
Yeah.
The Rebellion is full of people who have empathy, except for like the who you see are the elitists, which like I would argue, like the anarchists of that situation, which is Luthen and Saw Gerrera.
But Luthen did show. I feel like he did show some, like yeah, he's ruthless and will do whatever it takes, which sometimes that's necessary. But there were signs of like him, for example, when he realized that Bix was abusing the drugs, like he did want to help her. Like he did, like, okay, but I mean, it was for like kind of a selfish because he needs Andor, he needs Cassius Andor,
Exactly,
and he knows that if he helps Bix,
he's constantly there's an angle for him.
Yeah. But I mean, at the same time, he did was willing to sacrifice himself to withhold that information, so they don't the Empire doesn't get it, you know?
Yeah, I loved that character.
Yeah,
I loved that character. That's probably my favorite character.
Dude, that shit almost made me cry.
He had some fucking bangers, like his he'd do spitting bars, dude.
Yeah,
and the fact that when they were on, I think it was Naboo, in a flashback scene where the girl he took in as kind of like his daughter or whatever.
Yeah.
And then they're gonna detonate the what is it, tanks or whatever, on the bridge. And then he's training her to be inconspicuous, you know, because only a person who would hit the detonator button would be looking at the bridge as it exploded. You know, we got to look like we're as surprised as everybody else. You know, like teaching her how to be like a fucking anarchist.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, oh, he should have been on the Dad episode.
Yeah, yeah.
It would have been hard to not spoil that for this though.
Yeah, and it was just it was just kind of heartbreaking to see she was the one that kind of had to kill him, basically.
Yeah, but
I get it.
They probably had planned that for a long time now.
Yeah, definitely.
He knew, they knew what the plan was.
There's probably going to be a point where you got to do this.
The fucked up part that I thought, because the depths of this dude's mind, because you know how we got the information from his plant, right?
Yeah.
And the guy was like, oh, because of my family, you know, and he fucking kills him anyways.
Yeah.
Dude, he saved his family.
Yeah.
By killing him.
Yeah.
Because they would have gotten to him through his family. By killing him, they have no way to torture him. It's useless harming them.
Yeah.
You know? It's crazy to think that he killed that fool after he got the information that he needed from him, but because he knew what was going to happen.
Yeah.
Regardless, if you let him live or not. They're going to come after your family. That's crazy to me.
Yeah.
Star Wars.
Star Wars, yeah, exactly. I forgot I was watching Star Wars at some point.
That's what I'm saying. It's like how you mentioned earlier, what was it? Like a political thriller?
Yeah.
Like an espionage, you know. Dude, and I loved the way that the second season rolled out. The way that it gives you so much lore, dude.
Yeah.
How I mentioned in a earlier about how the BBY.
Oh yeah.
The
time, how the time passes.
Yeah. The Battle of Yavin is when they destroyed the Death Star. You know, they mark that as their 0, you know?
Yeah.
The way that it just kind of gives you this depth that is Star Wars, you know, is great, you know? And we've talked about it before, that how they they have so much potential to explore what's already been created, you know, but still kind of adding to it. And Andor did such a good job of that with how he talked about with the different cultures and stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, you could even totally do some of those side stories, or utilize another story that takes place at some point in Gorman prior to all of those events, you know, or where you get to see when that incident when Grand Moff Tarkin crushed some sort of descent that was occurring in that same courtyard. where you get to see that in another adaptation, you know, like it gives you so much more rich, like I said, like lore to appreciate and then and build off of, dude. You know, who cares that you're going in opposite direction? You know, other than like, you know, because it obviously doesn't work.
Yeah.
No, dude. Did you have like a favorite character at all,
Dude.
or like a favorite like part, or like a favorite aspect?
Fuck. His Cyril, is that how you say his name?
Cyril.
Like him.
Yeah.
Which is like surprises me.
Because he had it's a complex story.
Yeah. And I felt like his was fleshed out like so well. Because like in the first season, he's like this guy. He's just like, no, we got to catch this guy. Like he killed somebody. Like
Yeah, he's very enthusiastic.
Yeah.
Very ambitious. Like the employee you wish you had.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. But yeah, like his whole story from beginning to end is just like it's heartbreaking to me.
Yeah.
It's fucking heartbreaking. Like, but that's what I liked about it. Just because it fleshed it out so well that I was so invested in it.
Yeah.
I was essentially invested in this fucking cop.
Yeah.
Like, and I fucking hate cops.
Yeah. Dude, he was totally a cop.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, I mean, obviously Cassius Andor. Like, I mean, Diego Luna did such a great job with this character.
Oh, dude.
And like, it didn't even seem like such a like main character from Rogue One. Like he just seemed kind of like a sidekick almost.
Mm.
But one thing I do want to say is I was a little worried about how they were going to end season 2, just because like when you first meet him in Rogue One, he's just trying to get information. So I was like, okay,
Yeah.
how are they going to get there? And then especially watching Andor and then seeing like episode 8 go down, and it's like, damn, like this is a lot happening. Like,
Yeah.
how are they going to transition to just because they can't really like end it with him going on this fucking crazy ass mission.
Yeah. Well, but they kind of do in a way.
In a way, yeah. And like, but I do like that they're kind of hesitant to send him.
Yeah.
You know, because he fights for basically essentially he fights to go because he's like, no, like he wouldn't Lucian.
Yeah.
Is that his name? He's like
Luthen.
Luthen. He wouldn't like send this kind of message for no reason.
Yeah.
Like, we need to investigate this. Like, we need to go. Like, I've spent enough time with this guy. Because the people that are kind of against it, they didn't like him, but they really didn't know him.
Yeah.
You know? So,
yeah, so it's hard to know like how serious to take him.
Yeah.
You know? But for him and the complicated relationship he had with Luthen, he knew well enough that if this juice will be worth the squeeze.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, dude. And to know after the fact, like being turned on to the tidbit of trivia that Diego Luna, like had dropped out of school to join the Zapatistas during like their uprising. It kind of makes it seem like, man, like I wonder, like how much that factored into his performance. You know, playing that character, you know, having it be something that's so familiar to him in his own life, you know. Dude, he was I definitely think Diego Luna was the right dude to play Andor, you know.
Yes.
And I'm glad that they utilized that character to explore this part of the story, you know, because you know, you do kind of get thrusted into Rogue One. And there is no character development at all, you know. But I mean, for good reason. And I'm glad that we got that. You know, it kind of makes me wish like they could have done other. I guess they could do other ones with other more of those characters. But I guess less is more. No, dude, I really liked the Gorman, like story.
Yeah.
You know, I really liked that aspect of it. The way that, like how we said it felt so relatable, identifiable. I thought that was like the richest part. I was the most engaged as they explored more, like when they started like singing their like their national anthem or whatever. It must have been. You know, like the way that they created languages, you know. I don't know. I thought it was. I liked those elements because that was my favorite part about the prequel trilogy, like because that was the first time we had seen like a whole CGI generated environment, like because of 1998, you know. And I loved exploring those elements, you know. And now that I think about it, it kind of makes me think like how important like the whole Gungan shit was in Phantom Menace to show, like for real like the way the representation because they're like, oh, like the Naboo think they're so great or whatever, but they had no representation inside the Senate, although they are Nabooian, like or Nabooians,
Nabooites.
I don't
know.
Whatever the fuck they all looked at. No, never mind.
I was gonna never mind.
We're all saying like racist jokes about like fictional characters.
I know.
No, but you know what I mean. And then when Jar Jar becomes the senator, you know, it's kind of like, oh, cool, he's from Naboo, like makes sense, you know. And then, but he also ends up being the guy that like gives Palpatine all the power.
Yeah, yeah.
Fucking idiot.
But it's because he's a Dark Lord. He
is, dude.
He's a Sith Lord.
He is.
Jar Jar is a Sith Lord.
It's canon because
there's no way that somebody's that lucky accidental that and their name isn't Forrest Gump.
The reason why the reason why I know it's canon, dude, is because he was a purchasable and playable character on Fortnite. Canon.
Sith Lord, right?
Sith Lord.
Yeah.
Yep. Darth Jar Jar, dude.
Darth Jar Jar, homie. It's a thing. Nobody's that lucky on accident, homie. Nobody's that lucky on accident, homie.
Nah, dude, I loved how like the fascist like element of it, you know, and it wasn't as like the way that they portrayed fascism in as the new order, the first order,
yeah,
the first order, very Nazi like, you know. I like that they didn't do it like that. That they showed more of how fascism works as like a method, rather than like a form of like decorations for a way that like a system might work. Like the components that make up what fascist like shit is, you know, the propaganda, the planting of these seeds, controlling these different narratives, you know, it made for a really complex story, you know, and you couldn't help but to not. I mean, obviously, you're not sympathizing with the Empire unless you're that guy, you know. I'm sure Donald Trump would definitely.
Oh, dude.
Yeah, he would want a stormtrooper parade.
He tried.
Yeah, he. You know.
Yeah.
But I mean, you know, like, but even though you're not in a position where you're going to be sympathetic, you know, maybe for some of these characters and how their individual complex stories are, but like in general, you're not sympathetic for the Empire. But like, you can't help but to be like intrigued by like how complex that story is because of how each component works, you know, and how, you know, people don't necessarily agree with each other because of their different positions, you know, and their different, because like, you know, you had Krennic was working on the Death Star like in secret, and you had all these other officers who had like this really important thing they had to do, and like they didn't even know what the fuck it was for, you know, like the way that it is so deep, like the web that is the Empire and the way that they frame it in this series, to me was hard to like look away from, dude. It like it's kind of like, you know, kind of like learning like a history about like, you know, the rise and fall of a, like, you know, the Byzantine Empire or something like that. Like I get really into those types of stories. I spend a lot of time on those types of YouTube videos, dude. You know, so this kind of felt like a version of that, but like in space, you know. No, dude, it to me, it says Andor was just so like hard to dislike, dude.
Yeah,
I don't really have any gripes about it really at all. It looks amazing.
I have one.
What is
literally just one?
What is it?
So I don't remember the character's name, but where is he in Rogue One? The guy from Blood In, Blood Out. He played Paco in Blood In, Blood Out.
Oh,
I don't remember his character's name.
That's
Is that supposed to be Jimmy Smith's character?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah, that's Bail Organa.
There we go. Okay, because like Jimmy Smith's is in Rogue One, obviously, because he's the one that like took in Leia, you know.
Yeah.
So that's him. I had no idea.
Yeah. So
Okay.
he plays, and it's only because like the scheduling of something that Jimmy Smits was doing, and they just casted
Damn, just another Mexican looking guy.
for sure, huh?
No, I'm just kidding.
I mean, all Mexicans. No, never mind.
Damn. No, but yeah, that was one that was like, wait. But I mean, I assumed, like I said, I'm not like too versed on like Star Wars, like lore and like names and stuff like that. Like, but that was one thing I was just like, is that supposed to be him? I don't think that's supposed to be him. But I mean, it can be. I don't know. So I didn't really like take the time to look into it. I was just thought maybe you would know. So
Yeah, it's Bail Organa, just portrayed by a different actor.
okay.
The only gripe that I guess I did have, but I don't know, like it kind of just phased out as I watched season 2. I didn't. The music was throwing me off at 1st. It felt too like earthy, you know, like the house music that they were playing. Like it sounds like something I would hear like if I went to a bar, like somewhere around here, you know.
Yeah.
And I just kind of felt like I wanted to hear something like, you know, like that,
Cantina.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I get it. It doesn't have to be like something like exactly like a replica of that. But because that sounded so different and it sounded like it could have been like a space cantina, like popular type of jam or music, you know, maybe something like that. But then after a while, it just kind of like, I don't know, it just stopped bothering me. Like it wasn't something, it was so inconsequential because the story was so good,
Yeah.
you know? And
I think that was the best part of this was the writing, the story.
oh yeah,
Like it was so strong.
dude, the way that it was so well thought out though, man.
Yeah. They took their time.
100%, dude. Like, cause I had to know, like, if I watch Rogue One and then A New Hope after this, like, it has to, like, feel like I'm watching it for the first time again.
Yeah.
In order for me to just be like my final stamp of approval on Andor,
Yeah.
and it got it, you know. Like I do watch A New Hope, dude, and like just pay attention to like the like subtleties, bro. Like like the subtleties of everything. Like it's super sick.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was definitely the redeeming quality.
I did see like because this aired weekly, and it was like you said like 3 episode drops basically. I did see like some talk like saying like, oh, and this was before like basically the last 3 had come out. But I was seeing talk of like, oh man, you know, it's kind of slow, you know, it's a little boring, whatever. But I would say like I didn't find anything boring.
No.
Like there wasn't really like a lot going on action wise, I guess, but there was a lot of information being given that just kind of adding to the story, which I thought was very intriguing, you know?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I can see why people thought like, oh, it's fucking boring, whatever.
Yeah, because everything, like if you really kind of look at it from like a step back, a lot of these things seem so inconsequential. Like the prison labor.
Yeah.
You know, like I can see how someone could be like, man, like this is taking too long, right?
Yeah.
But like when you think of how crucial that is to the story, because they're building components for the Death Star.
Yeah.
You know, I get, you know, I can see like I guess if you need a movie to be a little bit more upbeat or not be so much of a slow burn, I guess you could say, I can see, you know, it being slow for some people, but I found that to be the part that drew me in the most.
Yeah.
Because I like details, you know, I like lore and details. It enriches the bigger picture for me.
Yeah, definitely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like how they say you're never supposed to look at like a painting up close. You're supposed to look away. I love getting all up in there. Like I like to see like individual brushstrokes.
Yeah.
You know, like to me, I can better like comprehend what I'm looking at. Like this is supposed to be a great painting. Why? Because it looks real.
Yeah.
You know, or like, is it like what was this person doing? Like it looks like a mess up close, but like, you know. So I like details. You know. So that's the part that drew me in. I didn't see it. I didn't find it to be slow at all.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I didn't either.
Yeah, it's hard to not binge. You know, like I got through it quick.
I would even say like season 2, because of like the back end of it being so strong, it's probably like some of the best like TV I've seen, like
Yeah,
in a long time.
didn't it get like the most? Like it's now the record holder of having the
Oh, the most episodes in a row with like the highest ratings.
yeah, with the highest
And
ratings.
like on IMDb or
IMDb,
something.
right?
I think so. Because I think before, I believe it was Breaking Bad
Yeah,
held that.
yeah,
But I think it like took the top spot on that.
yeah. For the most consistent in a stretch.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if I think anybody who like wants to see like who do you can you picture anybody who would see this and like watch it and like not enjoy it?
People who see the name or the association with Star Wars and just want to see fucking lasers and lightsaber fights.
Oh, okay. Like space dogfights and
Yeah.
lightsaber battles.
Which I mean is cool,
Yeah, yeah,
but this isn't that.
yeah.
Like not at all. I mean, if you, I would say, like if you like political thrillers or espionage like films, like
Yeah.
this is right up your alley.
It's kind of like if people are not fond of Marvel movies, but then can watch a Winter Soldier and be like, "Oh, that's sick."
Yeah.
You know, to me, it's kind of like that.
Yeah.
You know, because I mean, you could easily just look at other Star Wars films, like we do, and be like, "It's just like trying to make money off of Star Wars, I guess." You
Yeah.
know,
And this does not feel
No.
like that at all.
it feels a lot more like a passion project that
Yeah.
Disney gave them a lot of money to work with.
Do you think they kind of shot them, not necessarily shot themselves in the foot? Like, this is a very high bar now. Because like, I feel like a lot of people, especially people that loved this and are hardcore Star Wars fans, they're going to be looking to future projects as like, okay, top that.
I'm glad you said that. So there was recently something that I stumbled on. I don't know how much truth there is to this, but
Yeah.
I guess like the new head of Lucasfilm just dropped a nugget about some of their plans,
Oh, I didn't know they had somebody new. So Kathleen Kennedy's gone.
or maybe
No, because I know she was leaving.
yeah, she was leaving. I don't know if it's like the new guy or the new person, or I don't know. I can't recall. I saw it a couple different places. I didn't look too much into it, but now that we're talking about this, it reminds me. I think I saw it like yesterday evening. I guess they're talking about like the upcoming movies or projects they're going to work on. They're going to utilize Star Wars obviously as the property, but like venture into different genres such as horror.
Ooh,
That's what I said.
dude.
That's what I said, dude. Think about the potential.
Why haven't they done this
Dude,
before?
maybe Andor was the way that they were gonna like maybe like dip their toes in the water, cut their teeth on taking it in like across boundaries as far as like genre.
Dude, that's fucking tight.
That would be sick, right?
Yeah. Because it could totally lend itself to that.
Yeah, and Disney is no stranger to like doing something like they had that whole what was that studio that they had that they were making like live action films at the same time that they're making like cartoons.
Disney?
Yeah, Touchstone.
Oh, I see what you. Oh, yeah, Touchstone Pictures.
Yeah, Touchstone Pictures.
Yeah.
And that's how they made like, dude, like so many adult movies, rated R films. You know, like so it's not like they haven't done something like that before.
Yeah.
You know, I guess doing it with Star Wars can seem kind of risky, but I mean, after having Andor I imagine like. Yeah, there's criticisms of like it being like a woke or whatever and stuff like that. But I feel like that's just like the same niche crowd that you hear these people, you know, having like really weird takes about like current events, you know.
Yeah.
Small, I would say group, you know, even Star Wars fans who are hardcore Star Wars fans saying this is woke. This is kind of like showing your true colors in reality. But, you know, I don't know, dude. Like seeing it go into different genres to me is the potential to me is high. That's why my reaction was the same as yours when I read that, only because I was like, dude, Andor set the bar.
Yeah.
You know, so in order, like you're saying, to raise it, they would have to do something like that. You know, take it into like, you know, like like a drama, hard to watch because it's depressing. You know, I suppose you can totally find ways to do that, like individual stories of families like that are in the midst of like whatever genocides occurring because at the hands of the empire, and it's from their perspective. Like losing loved ones after getting like bombs dropped on you and shit. Like who knows? I wonder what they would do with horror though.
Yeah,
I'm curious to think like. I would hate to see them go in like a Jurassic Park route and just have it be like alien monsters like chasing people.
Yeah. What if they do like a slasher?
Dude, that honestly, it's funny when you say that, because one of the first things I thought of was like, there's totally serial killers like in that universe,
dude,
you know, and you could do so much with that because of like, it's such like like, dude, their cars fly.
Yeah.
They travel at the speed of light. Like, like there's so much you can do with like a serial killer case, and introduce characters like Cyril, right? Who you sympathize with being a cop, but like, dude, like a dedicated detective, and then they're trying to figure out like who this is, where their next move's gonna be, like that would be sick.
Yeah.
And the whole time, like he could be next at any moment. I don't know. I'm just saying. Yeah. When I saw that, I got excited because I agree. They definitely raised the bar for Star Wars.
They set the standard.
It's so high now.
Yeah.
Like you can't drop a Star Wars and related anything at this point.
Everything they drop after this is going to be compared.
I'm going to be comparing it against Andor.
Yeah.
I don't give a fuck how unfair that is.
Yeah, yeah.
Especially if you're going to tie it into like the Skywalker saga, like the Skywalker like main thing.
Yeah.
If it at all branches in or out of that, it has to be compared against Andor.
Yeah.
Because Rey being fucking Palpatine's granddaughter was fucking whack.
Stupid.
Yeah. Like, I
feel bad. Honestly, I feel bad for Daisy Ridley, dude. She kind of got the shit end of that.
I love Rey. I loved her performance as Rey.
I know, but you know how fucking hardcore Star Wars fans are.
It was just
for some reason they attack the performer because of the character. Like,
that's crazy. I don't even think that's Star Wars fans. I think that's just armchair critics in general. Like they don't even think to like can criticize.
That's why honestly, like, he's not here with us right now, but like that's why I give Eddie shit. Cause like he always says, like, Rian Johnson, who directed The Last Jedi, which I mean it's an awful movie.
Yeah.
But he's like, I'm never watching anything Rian Johnson. And I was like, dude, like, Knives Out is such a good movie.
For real.
Like, it is such a good movie.
Yeah. Like, maybe he's not the best person to do a Star Wars film.
Yeah.
Because, like, maybe your bias going into it as a Star Wars film is what's putting, like, that barrier, to be able to kind of appreciate, what else he's able to do, because it just didn't land well with a Star Wars property,
Yeah.
Nah, I get that. I wish that was here.
Yeah. Fuck you, Eddie.
Yeah, fucking bitch.
I texted him earlier and I was like, miss you, dude, love you. Full homo.
I know. I texted the group earlier and
motherfucker taking vacation. Fuck that.
Nobody got back to me.
Oh, it's because I have the group chat on mute.
It's because of me, isn't it?
I'm just kidding. I don't have it on mute. But no, yeah, like, what were we talking about? Daisy Ridley, future of Star Wars, basically. Yeah, like, I am curious. I don't want to say I'm looking forward to, because honestly, if there's no more Star Wars shit after this,
I'm good with it.
I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm good. But I am curious to see in what direction they go.
Yeah, like...
Do you have any water in there?
I do. They're like little tiny bottles.
Or anything other than water in there? And beer?
I have Gatorade.
Can I have one of those?
A Gatorade too?
Yeah. Porfas? Hell yeah. I mean, I wish it was zero sugar, but it's cool.
The little homies don't like the zero sugars.
Just take the label off, homie.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Huh? It's the placebo effect.
Dude, the Gatorade, what is it, like blue glacier blue, whatever it's called, zero sugar, bomb,
I know.
bomb.
It's the best one.
Hell yeah. This one's good too. The lemon lime.
It's got my sugar though. Damn. The way that you sound in the headphones drinking that quenched my thirst. Damn.
For some reason, me doing that right now remind me of the Diet Coke jingle from those old commercials. What was it? Something's the taste of it. Diet Coke. No, but I definitely hope they come out with like a special edition or limited edition, like physical copy of season 1 and 2. I know there's like a steelbook of season 1, and I cannot fucking find it anywhere. But once I see that they release season 2, I'm hoping they do like a season 1 and 2 combo type of deal. I'm buying that shit.
I hope they do a box set.
That'd be sick, dude.
With season 1, season 2, and the Rogue One.
And Rogue. Oh yeah, greatest Star Wars trilogy. I don't care.
Fuck yeah, dude. Bars. For sure.
One movie is 12 hours. The other movie is 12 hours, basically, and then
damn,
an hour and a half.
Damn. Yeah, dude. Andor made me do like a crazy ass deep dive. I have like mad notes. I did like an entire timeline, dude.
Well, what else? What else you want to touch on?
In regards to that?
Yeah.
I don't know. It just made me really kind of think like the layers involved with the whole story in general, right? Because we're talking about the Empire, and the Emperor is Palpatine. Darth Sidious, Palpatine. These are people that we see in the original trilogy. We know that they exist in Rogue One and Andor.
Yeah.
And you see that same character in the Phantom Menace prequel trilogy, right? So to me, it just made me think like, okay, that's the main story, like that those groups of films or whatever, you know what I mean? I've never seen Rebels, right?
Yeah, me neither.
So, and I know that stuff's canon. I know that would add a lot more depth for like other shows, such as like Ahsoka and like shit like that. So not counting those things, you know. So it just kind of made me just do like a lot of like contemplating, right? And at the end of it, it was always Star Wars has always ever been about a story of Jedis versus the Sith. It's only ever been about that. And the only reason why it became a political like aspect at all is because that was the way for the Sith to gain the upper hand against the Jedi. Because the Jedi made an agreement with the Senate to operate as agents of the Senate. So in order to have the upper hand on the Jedi, do need to infiltrate. The Sith Lord had to infiltrate the Senate as a politician. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, even the political aspect is such a smaller part of the bigger picture, right? Which is, like I said, ultimately between the Jedi and the Sith. You know, so like, like the and like just the like the so I have this whole like breakdown, right? I'm not gonna go through like the whole thing and punish like everybody listening, right? But like I just couldn't help but to notice that like, okay, like these, like the order in which these like the chronology, right, of like these events throughout these stretch of movies, right? Like Chancellor Valorum, you know, and his legislation to make the Jedis the Republic's like military or their muscle, right? So they're the ones that send like the Jedis on these diplomatic missions, blah blah blah, because they didn't have like an army. You know, like that's just how they operated. They didn't have a standing army at all, so they just had the Jedis like just be like, you know, the FBI or something, you know,
Yeah.
or something like that, you know. And uh, Dooku was a Jedi, right? So you know they manipulate Dooku to sit on the Separatist Council because he sits on the Council of the Separatists, which is like you know those bug look like type creatures, the Trade Federation. They existed in the Outer Rim, right? So like the jurisdiction of like the Empire was so focused on like the colony like sections that this Outer Rim, when they all had like free trade agreements between themselves, these corporations operated as their own planets, but they were corporations. So that's like you have like this capitalist um like element to it, uh but like because like you know the Trade Federation was an organization, the those bug like creatures that had the droid armies and shit, like uh they were all just different corporations trying to jam the trade routes, and that's how they would make their money, you know.
Yeah.
And like the way that Palpatine manipulated, or Sidious manipulated himself into the Senate, played like literally everyone along the way to 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 get to his like end goal, which was to be the emperor, to consolidate his power and to rule the galaxy and to exterminate the Jedi. Like that was his whole goal, you know what I mean? And then like you have, and then and to me like when I look and watching Andor was cool because it's kind of like damn, like it's crazy how like nobody, the people who figured out like the straw that will break the camel's back, and or to topple the, or the card to topple the house of cards, right, if you will, they were not Jedis. They were regular ass people.
Yeah.
They were like working class regular people who had, you know, come from like fucked up backgrounds and shit, just standing up against what in their perspective is just tyranny, you
Yeah.
know, authoritarianism, fascism, and having like really no concept of like this, like the because the Jedis have been extinct, you know, so there's no there, they don't even know about like Darth Vader. Do they know about Darth Vader at this point? Like because it kind of seems like he kind of utilized Darth Vader as like his own personal Jedi type, you know, like the Empire's like little muscle, you know,
Yeah.
because like you don't hear anybody like really feel like concerned about Darth Vader,
Yeah.
you know, and it's crazy to see that like that these characters are not Force users, they're not Force sensitive, they have no religious, spiritual Sith Jedi aspect to them, and they're the ones that like are looking at it from the perspective of just them fighting tyranny. I don't know, just it just couldn't, I couldn't help but to like have it like just really kind of spark my it stimulated my brain into wanting to kind of just look at it from this bigger like picture, I guess, you know. And it excited me. It excited me, bro.
Yeah.
You know. But yeah, no. That's all I really had, you know. I could have really punished you with that. It's really good. It's impressive. If you were to look at it,
Yeah.
like I'll show it to you, but I'm not gonna talk about it right now.
Huh?
It's just I feel like it would just be way too long, and everybody's just gonna fall asleep and like get mad at me. Yeah,
But I mean, you are a detail oriented person, so
yeah. I just my brain revs at a high RPM all the time, and I'm constantly craving like data. So when I see it and it excites me, my brain just gets really stimulated, and like I have to like I have so many questions, and like and it's like okay, well then that means that this person, why would they do that? Like okay, so then what is, so how is this connected to like this part of the story? You know what I mean? So I just have all these questions, and I just have to like look into it, and I have to like pay attention and rewatch things, and you know, um, and thank God for YouTube, because like there's people out there who did a lot of that hard work for me, you know, and like I was able to just quickly put like synopsis ideas together and just kind of build my own like little diagram, and it was fun doing it, you know. And at the end of the day, like I'm saying, it's like Andor excited me.
yeah.
It had awoken that Star Wars nerd inside me, you know. It didn't, like these other Star Wars properties.
You don't hold a candle to it, dude.
Yeah, like you know what I mean. Like
Yeah.
at that Star Wars fan that was dormant, like that Star Wars nerd that was lays dormant inside, you know, was not awoken by these other properties. Andor and Rogue One were the only ones in recent years that have made me feel like that. And I don't know. I have fun talking about it. I have fun fucking thinking about it. You know, it's great. You know, so I really do. I really do want them to make more Star Wars stuff, and I really do hope that if that is true, that they want to go into venture into different genres like horror and stuff like that. I am excited to see what that looks like, because the potential, because of what Andor was able to produce within me, I guess.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So with that being said, kind of switching gears here, and talk about a little bit about what you had initially wanted to talk about.
What was that?
What's going on right now. And how I feel it's kind of relevant and I guess parallel, I guess you could say, to Andor. It's very similar in a way.
And it's crazy how like that it came out before a lot of the things that are occurring right now before our eyes, like what's popping off in LA and whatnot. These things, these episodes we're talking about dropped like a month or two ago.
Yeah,
you know, so definitely.
But that's why I say like it's happened before.
Yeah,
like this is a story that's been that has happened many times before.
Yeah, it's not like some Simpsons shit where like they're predicting what's about to happen. It's like no, like this is history repeating itself, if you will.
Yeah,
you know. I don't know. I just think it's, you know, it's hard not to like how we talked earlier. It's hard not to feel triggered about by what you see, like what's going on, because, you know, I'm a descendant of immigrants.
Yeah.
You know,
I would argue that almost everyone in this country
100%
is a descendant of immigrants.
100%. I feel like people don't like account for historical facts.
Yeah.
Like it is a historical fact. The fact that you and I speak Spanish and English, right? And and my spirituality is based on that of Christianity. Like these are all things that originated in a different part of the world.
Yeah.
And were forced upon people who are indigenous to the lands in which my ancestors are from. You know? So like I take those things into account, you know. So when people say things like, you know, the border crossed us, or no human is illegal, blah blah blah, those types of things, like, you know, colonizers, like, you know, things like that. Like these are all very real things because it's just a fact, you know. Yeah. And like, so like when you see like the like these things that are occurring right now, you know, it's hard not to feel triggered by the fact that it's like, man, like I was like, I guess not cautious, but like skeptical, you know, because of like Donald Trump is, to me, like he's a dude from The Apprentice, you know, like that's how I see him. Like he's just this character, right? I know he's like this billionaire businessman guy, you know, and he becomes like the president of the United States, which I think is wild. I think it was wild for it to happen before. I think it's wild now. And it's even crazier to think that the people who like listen to the things that he says that comes out of his mouth, and like everything that's going on around like this entire nature of like Republican and like Democrat, liberal, all this stuff, like these things are so silly, you know, arbitrary, you know, and to think that a person who has more money than he can spend in his own and his family member's lifetime, you know, like giving an actual fuck about you is crazy. Like it's delusional in my opinion, you know, because he's so out of touch. He's so much older, like, you know, he's a descendant from European immigrants, German, you know, like his grandfather immigrated here as a draft dodger from Germany prior to World War One, like peak German Empire. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Dude came here and did not have like papers. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like knowing that these things are like a fact, like how it's crazy to think that there's so much like animosity for like undocumented peoples. You know, I get the fact that you have your criminals, you know, your gangsters, your what have you, right? The people who commit murders and so on, right? I get wanting to get rid of those people because whether you deport them or not, they need to be off the streets.
Yeah.
Like they should not be like out and about like doing those things over and over again, because the thing is like it's in my opinion it's only a crime if there's a victim, you know. So if there's a victim, then a crime has been committed, and somebody is the person who committed that crime, and therefore they should be held accountable, right? But if you're not creating a victim, then I don't believe that you're committing a crime, and I feel like that there's a severe lack of empathy, and conflating what's legal and what's moral, you know, and it's just hard to watch.
Yeah.
And it's hard not to feel triggered by it, you know, how we talked earlier about like I'm a descendant of immigrants, so it's hard not to feel like triggered because of the how much I identify with people. You know, like I grew up as a second generation because my dad at a time when he was only speaking English, or he's only speaking Spanish, you know, during like the 60s. You know what I'm saying? Like when they were trying to end segregation and like the racism was rampant. You know what I mean? So my dad's method of survival was to learn how to speak English. He didn't learn it from his parents. He didn't learn it from school. He did it from watching TV. And he unconsciously as a child, he said that he did it because survival, you know?
Yeah.
And I didn't learn Spanish, and I was assimilated as a result, you know? So like I consider myself a person who is a victim of secondhand racism, if you will. You know? So like I have like this yearning to feel connected to like my heritage that I've been cut off from for various reasons, you know. And you know, you have these people who are trying. They have come here before and have been here for some time, or they're coming here, or they just got here, and it's for a reason, and it's usually because like the conditions in which they're from are so unbearable.
Yeah.
That they wanted to come to a place in which they were led to believe is a place for them to have an opportunity to have a better chance at survival, prosperity, because like that's the message we give out as America. You know, our sensationalism is thrown out to the world like that. So no wonder people want to go. You know,
Do people forget what it says on the Statue of Liberty?
I guess.
Like,
I mean, clearly they forget like what Jesus says about like immigrants and shit. So like it wouldn't. If they're not gonna listen to that, I can't imagine what a piece of stone like means to them. You know, the Constitution actually means nothing to them because like they would care about people not having their, even though they're undocumented, they have rights under the Constitution to due process.
due process, yeah.
You know, and like that,
and like people were saying this whole like being here without the proper documentation, like the kind of offense that is the same thing as having expired tags. Like it is not a felony.
Yeah, dude.
Like, so if you're going to be up in arms about this whole like, oh, well, it's illegal, it's against the law, then be up in arms about people who have expired tags or let their driver's license expire. Like, because that's the exact same type of offense.
But again, there's no victims.
Exactly.
So why would you consider like driving?
Like, why do you give a fuck in the first place?
Driving 5 miles over the speed limit is a victimless crime.
Yeah.
Like, so why should I be labeled a criminal as a result? It's same thing with someone who's undocumented, you know. And this whole thing of like, they've committed a crime because they're illegal or whatever. They're illegal because they're undocumented. They did it the wrong way or whatever the fuck, right? Like I said, like it's a matter between like legality versus morality, you know.
Yeah.
You know, to me, that sounds like this is how we talked before. Like now you're what that sounds to me is like you're saying like, oh, then Anne Frank got what she had coming to her.
Yeah, that's essentially what you're saying.
You know, then the defendants of the Nuremberg trials, then you sympathize with them because they were just doing their job.
Yeah.
Where is Eddie?
I don't know. He's on vacation.
He's
right
on
now.
vacation.
Eddie's not here.
Do you want to say hi? No. That's funny. For those who can't see, she just waved.
She waved. That's what's up.
No, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like then that means that you also look at, when other countries cut off the hands of, people because they stole something, that you sign off on that. You sign off on
Someone stole bread for their family because they're fucking starving.
100%.
They got caught. Their hand got cut off. Oh, they deserved it because they stole bread.
Yeah, or that means that because it's legal, countries around the world are where you can marry someone who's like 14 years old. Like you can't confuse the two. It's not the same. They're not the same thing. Like
Yeah.
like I'd rather break the law than break my moral compass. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and it's hard for me to see like how people can't empathize with people. Like, again, if it's like criminals that are committing crimes against people like murder and stuff, of course we don't want that shit to be happening. So get rid of those motherfuckers. I don't give a fuck.
And I hate that fucking argument of like, well, I mean, past presidents had more people like being deported than Trump has.
That was whack too.
That was whack too, yes. But those were actual criminals. They didn't have fucking birthday parties, kids' graduations, going to place people's work and having them fucking raided, taken from their jobs.
People were saying that they were getting messages to appear in court.
Yeah, and then getting fucking taken at the courthouse.
Like, dude.
Like, what kind of shit is that?
Those are not criminals, dude. Like, those are people trying to do the right way.
According to them, the right way, yeah. And then, like, obviously, they don't know how fucking difficult it is to go through this process of getting the proper documentation.
Yeah, and anybody who said like, oh, and their family members or whatever who did it like in the 80s or even in like the early 50s or whatever and shit.
Yeah, tell them to thank Ronald Reagan because they give him that amnesty shit.
Yeah, and whoever was like at the time like for the Bracero program, you know what I mean? It's right place, right time.
Yeah,
like my grandfather came here under the Bracero program, and it's because everybody got drafted.
Yeah.
Like people were busy fighting fascism.
Yeah.
In Europe, and that left the workplace like unoccupied. So women and immigrants filled those spots to keep the American economy like booming,
Yeah.
Right place, right time, dude. And that's how my grandfather came over here, So it's kind of like, yeah, he did it the right way, but it's like, nah. I mean, I guess so, but it's just like, he just took advantage of like that lucky shot.
Yeah.
Because every other person I've spoke to who didn't have that happen to them, because like when Reagan granted amnesty, they woke up one day not being immigrants anymore.
Yeah.
They woke up one day and they were just American.
Yeah.
But the people who haven't had that opportunity and that I've spoken to, like it took a long time. Like many, many, many years,
It took my dad, like, I want to say maybe 10 to 15 years. I don't know exactly because, like I said on the Father's Day episode, we didn't really have that close of a relationship like that. Yeah. So, but there were times where I would go with him, like we'd wake up like 4 a.m, drive out to LA to immigration court, park, go up into the courthouse, be there all fucking day. We did that for so fucking long. And then turns out that the lawyer my dad was using this like like I guess his like helper. I don't know the term for them, like
a paralegal maybe?
Paralegal, there we go. The paralegal that the lawyer was using was charging my dad for things he shouldn't have been charging him for. So my dad ended up paying roughly 20 grand over what he was actually supposed to be. So then when that was found out, he essentially had to start over. So
because it's like
it was taking advantage of an immigrant.
Yeah. So did that have an effect on his case in the eyes of the court? Like,
not necessarily. It was just like because there would be times like he didn't have the money, so couldn't go.
Yeah.
Like,
and you can't exactly go to these hearings when you're at work to make the money you need to pay the lawyers to accompany you at these hearings.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like as if it's intentional.
Yeah.
Weird.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So yeah, like it's not easy.
No, it's not, dude.
It's not easy. And
And
then like the people that say like, oh well, if you don't, the whole thing of like, if you don't like it here, then fucking leave. That's immigration. Like that's what those people are doing, coming here because they
yeah,
don't like it there.
when Obama bombed like Syria, like it started shit in Syria and like destabilized Syria in a way to where now it caused like a lot of immigration.
Yeah.
And then you have and then now you have like the Europeans that are on their far right shit, upset about, all the Muslim immigrants that they're getting out in Europe. But that's just because of the nature of like, when these conditions are made unbearable, right, by a government for government reasons, which is typically because you want to be the top dog. You want to be the biggest empire. You want to have the biggest dick.
Yeah.
Because I mean, that's how, even if you think about it, like, why do Canadians speak French? Why does Brazilians speak Portuguese? Why does all of Latin America speak Spanish? And then you have the United States speak fucking English. It's because the Spanish Empire and the British Empire and the French Empire were all competing at the same time, and they colonized as part of the world.
Yeah.
They immigrated.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then, which is crazy to think that a good constitutional Americans can't sympathize with the plight of these people because, the the Brits were trying to say like, okay, well, we're gonna like tax you guys. You guys owe us taxes. As colonies, and it's like, not if we're not gonna have a vote. Like, if we can't vote, then that's going to be a problem. Like,
Yeah.
if we don't have a say in the parliament, like, that's a huge problem for us,
Yeah.
Oh, we're going to cut you off. No, bitch, we're going to cut you off. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and like, it's hard not to respect, like, somebody who's trying to, like, that Revolutionary War was, granted, all those guys were capitalists that utilized like enslaved people to build their wealth, right? Yeah, I'm not sympathizing with those motherfuckers. I'm just saying, like, I can identify with, them wanting to rise up and like against their oppressor, and establish their independence, right? That's sick. How can you not empathize with the people who are trying to flee their countries, their nature of oppression, to the place that is supposed to, the Constitution is supposed to be created because the people who drew it up, who authored it, believed in something called basic human rights. That's what that exists for, and it's not a list of do's and don'ts that citizens need to abide by. It's literally like things that tell you what the government can't take away from you, what the government can't cause to you, the harm that they're not allowed to cause to you. That there's a line that the government will never cross because of you have inherent human rights that shall not be violated by any government entity whatsoever. That's what the Constitution is meant for, And I see people who are more like those who are trying to come here to seek that chance of prosperity for themselves, protected under those same guidelines, and how as a Christian nation under God, with like, the red letters in the Bible talking about, welcoming the foreigner and like loving your neighbor and shit, how we can sit here and sign off on what's going on around us and be like, yeah, this is okay. Like, you have become complicit.
Yeah.
And if you're silent, it's even worse because you're choosing you're choosing the side of the oppressor. You're complicit. And
being neutral, you're complicit.
Yeah, and to me, this is I don't see it. Like, if you were to put ICE in stormtrooper outfits,
same shit. Same fucking shit.
I would feel like Andor.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, it doesn't seem any different. So, I mean, yeah, maybe it is woke. Pay attention.
Yeah.
And if opening a fucking book awakening your empathy, challenging your actual Christianity and your patriotism and your fucking deck writing of the Constitution. If that doesn't appeal to you, and like Star Wars, should be some way that you can kind of like be confronted with the reality of like, this is fucked up. Like we're in a weird place.
Yeah.
And if a tortilla can rise, then so can you.
That's right. Yeah, but yeah, even speaking to that, like people need to have better media literacy, because I don't understand the whole like people that love Star Wars but are all for what's going on right now.
Yeah.
Like, did you fucking watch those movies?
Yeah, you're paying attention?
Yeah, like, or are you just there for the fucking bright colors?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, it has to be that.
Yeah.
It has to be that, because I mean, like, they destroyed an entire planet.
Yeah. Like, you're rooting for stormtroopers. That's what you're doing.
Yeah.
Like, that ain't it.
Yeah,
as the kids would say.
Yeah, and then like on top of which, you have like the shit that's currently still ongoing around the world. Like Palestinians are dying.
Yeah,
they're getting exterminated. Like this violence and devastation and oppression is occurring around the world.
And being pro-Palestinian is not anti-Semitism. Like, people keep equating it.
There's a difference between Judaism and the government of the state of Israel.
Yes.
And when people talk about the nation of Israel in the Bible, and they think that they're talking about the nation in which the physical land with the boundaries and the army and the Netanyahu, they're not talking about that.
Yeah.
They're talking about Israel as in like God's people. The nation of Israel is like literally humankind. Like, all human beings are meant to be the nation of Israel, as we are, the people of God. That's the whole. That's what that means.
Yeah.
They're not talking about simping for, bomb droppers. And it has nothing to do with the religion of Judaism. Completely two separate things. That we're talking about someone's faith, and then just like this literal state with members that make up its government making decisions that are causing death and destruction.
Yeah.
And then poisoning people's minds with propaganda.
That's why I urge everybody, look shit up on your own.
Yeah, for sure.
Don't take everything you see on any social media platform, even on the news, which is fucking crazy to think about now. Like, you can't really trust the news anymore.
Yeah.
Like, look it up.
Yeah.
Like, because you're getting part of a story. You need the full story. Like, don't just take whatever they're giving you.
Yeah, dude, because you have to think about it like these propaganda campaigns and shit like that like the nation of Israel is engages in. It's not something that they created. So it's like it has nothing to do with like, it being like, Jews are controlling the media or whatever. Like, that's silly, because like they didn't that country didn't exist. That country did not exist until after World War II.
Yeah.
Right? Hitler engaged in the very same tactics, but he's not even the person who invented it. He got it from Mussolini. And these two guys got these cool ideas from Americans.
Yeah.
Like, they're influenced by like how American media is controlled by its government and its powerful entities such as its like corporations, Like, so it's not even about just like Israel. It's literally about like these nation states and their use of fascism and authoritarianism and colonizing like the world around them in the name of competition, and who is it? Like, I can't remember if it was Bakunin or whatever. They say like, competition is the law of the jungle, but cooperation is the law of civilization, and I don't know, maybe that's the leftist in me speaking, but like, I don't know. It's crazy how you can't just look at these things objectively. You can't before digging your feet in, like, kind of challenge yourself first, and think like, oh, like what's the like opposing ideas to what I'm thinking and what I'm feeling, right?
Yeah.
Try to prove myself wrong in a way, and think critically about it and make up your own fucking mind, and just read a book, you know, like learn history, like engage in your empathy. Otherwise, you're a narcissist or a sociopath or a psychopath, you know.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, then I don't know, God have mercy on your soul, I suppose.
Dude, sometimes I wish I was ignorant as fuck.
It seems easier.
It seems a lot easier, and those people usually seem happy as fuck.
Yeah, ignorant. They say ignorance is bliss.
Ignorance is
Like I
bliss.
guess, like if you like plugging into the matrix, is easier.
Like not caring about anything but yourself. Like seems very like happy life type of thing.
Yeah, dude.
And that sucks.
It just feels like people's like there is such a massive empathy deficit.
Yeah.
That it feels like people sold us out for the cost of eggs.
Yeah. 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 But I mean, going back to the point of look shit up on your own is just like with these protests that were happening. Dude, it looked like LA was burning to the ground.
Yeah.
That's all you saw. But that wasn't the case.
No.
Like it was majority peaceful. Yeah, there was pockets here and there, but a majority of it was peaceful protests.
Yeah. And think about it, like when they sent in was that those groups of Marines or whatever?
Yeah, the National Guard.
Yeah, it was like a platoon of like really young, like fresh people.
Yeah.
Not unlike in Andor when they sent in like that similar group of militants,
Yeah.
guys who were like excited, enthusiastic, yet also very nervous, another really good movie to watch, like to kind of clue you into like the nature of like fascism and as it pertains to like with propaganda and like warfare and violence. Like all is quiet on the Western Front, at least the remake. You can really see like the German Empire at its peak, like duping people into thinking that they were doing something like great.
What was it? All Quiet on the Western Front?
Yeah, All is Quiet on the Western Front. It's I've never seen the original, but the second one, the remake, is really good, dude. And it's brutal. Like there's nothing fun about it.
Really?
Yeah, it's it's a slow burn, and there's action parts, but like not like it's not like watching Extraction and like Taken. You know what I'm saying?
How many times has this movie been remade?
I am not sure. As far as I know, maybe twice.
There's one that came out in 1930, one in 1979, and one in 2022.
The 1979 one is the one that I know, only one I know of. That
directed by Delbert Mann. It's 150 minutes.
Yeah, the remake, I can't remember how long it is, but
you can watch it on Prime or Peacock.
It's bomb. It's a good movie. And if anything, too, like there's a certain book that I would recommend too that I had finished reading recently. Mm-hmm. It's called How Fascism Works: The Politics of Us and Them by Jason Stanley. It's not like a super dense read. You can listen to it like if you have a Spotify like premium family account, like the account holder can have access to a lot of audiobooks. But I had listened to it in its entirety, and it maybe took me about a week. I wasn't listening for the same long stretch of time every day.
Yeah.
But within that week, I had finished it, and it was very insightful. It basically lays out like the different chapters kind of lay out like different elements throughout history and cites examples of like the methodology of fascism, and how it creates like this worldview of us and them, so
you said it's available on Spotify?
It's only available on Spotify if you're the account holder for like a premium family plan. Otherwise, I'm sure you can find it like on Audible, or purchase a hard
I
copy.
wonder if I could have like a link to it, because I noticed like when I upload the episodes to Spotify,
Uh-huh.
it gives me an option to like, it says like, oh, what playlist, audiobook, podcast, or song is talked about in this episode, and it lets me pick from a list.
You could probably link it, but I believe if you're not the account holder
Yeah.
of the family plan, you won't be able to access it. It'll have like a little lock.
Yeah,
sign.
like I know you have to like purchase it.
Yeah, you have to either purchase it. But basically, like I have these two little notes that it's just for like a quick, like I guess like synopsis ideas that I had when I was listening to it, because in case I wanted to bring it up on the pod. One of the things I wrote down from what really caught my attention when they were talking about like propaganda and stuff. So it's to obscure reality by creating a mythic past that society ought to return to, and creating an outgroup or an ops that can be blamed for dissolving said like glory days, thus becoming the victims, which is used to justify their violence and their violation of other people's rights because they're the others, and to justify those injustices as well. Engaging in controlling the narrative is key because it manufactures consent. This is why throughout history, fascism attacks higher education and engages in things like book bans or book burnings, because like even a lot of books, like even if it's not like nonfiction, and it's like a story, like something like the Lord of the Rings. These stories take you on a journey, and they give you these characters and the plot lines and the arcs, and it invokes a lot of empathy. How many times have you like read a book, and then like cried, like what is it like the book with the kid with the two dogs where the red fern grows or whatever, like things like that. So like books invoke empathy.
Yeah.
Empathy is counterproductive for like a fascist state. So in higher education just gives you like the critical thinking skills. So um so and that's done in an effort to discard objective truth and critical analysis, and it undermines the discourse necessary to facilitate any change and growth in any kind of systems and customs. So that's basically just like the thoughts I was writing down as like I was contemplating when I was going through it,
Yeah.
as like the things that I definitely wanted to kind of just like put into a bite-sized conversation piece here.
Yeah.
So I guess if you want to have like cool companion pieces to like Andor, current events, All Is Quiet as a Western Front, reading this book again, it's How Fascism Works: The Politics of Us and Them by Jason Stanley. It's good to just kind of just educate yourself on this stuff, man, and like look at it from a lens that's just not from like your biases of what's happening in front of you right now, and you're doing it without having to be subject to the algorithm,
Yeah.
like question it, question that shit.
Ask, why is this happening?
Why? When did where did this come from? Where did this idea originate? Who are these what are the common denominator players involved in this type of activity and behavior?
Ask yourself, why are you okay with it?
Yeah,
or why does it bother you?
Yeah, why are you not bothered by these things and everybody else, or these large groups of people are? How often has this happened throughout history? Where else does this happen around the world?
Yeah.
I mean, that's how I do it.
Yeah.
Which is why I get triggered.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is why I get fucking angry and frustrated at it and heartbroken.
Yeah. So to end it, I want to touch on real quick. I had went to the Riverside protest.
Uh-huh.
And the reason I want to touch on it was because of what happened that night at the protest with the girl that got hit.
Oh, yeah.
So, and that also goes to like media literacy. Look shit up on yourself. Look shit up on your own. Because I saw like Channel 7, which they were there. I saw their news report on it, and it pissed me the fuck off.
Really?
Yeah.
Was it like similar to the narrative of like
why
she
were
got
they,
what she deserved because of what she was wearing, kind of thing?
sort of. So, like I said, Anna and I, we were there for the pro. We got there like 4 in the afternoon, and we were just kind of like, we kind of took over like the corners in front of Mission Inn, the Cheech art exhibit, and like just that corner right there.
You were in the thick of it.
Yeah, we're like right there, like, and just as people started piling in.
The cultural center.
Basically. And as soon as like the crowd got big enough, I guess, that's when the marching started. And we went, like, we walked in front. We were in the street. Yes, we were in the street. Walked in front of Mission Inn. Got to Market, turned left, walked down Market. Got to 9th. I think that's the street in front of White Park.
Yes.
9th. Started walking down that way. Kind of did a lap and eventually went in front of City Hall. Kind of took over that whole area on the stairs, everything. Like,
Okay.
And it was peaceful, you know?
A city hall or like the courthouse?
The courthouse. No, it was City Hall.
Like that Roman ass looking place?
I think so.
That's the courthouse.
Is it?
Yeah, City Hall I think is like that burgundy building.
I don't know.
They're next to each other.
We were in downtown.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was a lot of people. Like, it was a lot of people. Didn't really see a big like police presence. I was like spotting like on top of buildings. I saw people, and I mean, obviously with their jackets or their vests, you know. And I was like, okay, like I see that a helicopter.
Fucking campers.
Yeah, and I had told Anna, I was like, you know, I just having her there with me just made me extra nervous, just because like me and you and Birdie had did like the BLM one, and like I'm not saying that made us obviously experience whatever, because that was the only time I've ever done anything like that, but just having her there with me and then just kind of seeing how things can escalate.
Yeah.
It made me nervous, you know, but
because I mean, you you don't want to put her in harm's way.
exactly. So, but I did like feel it was important to be there. So, especially so close to my house.
And she went because she wanted to go.
Yes. Because initially that we were gonna have a date that day. That was gonna be our date day, because oddly we honestly didn't have.
Oh, your love is revolutionary. I love that for you.
So like, because like lately, you know, we haven't really had time just for me and her. So that was the day we had set that aside for us. And so we decided to do that. And like I said, it ended up being peaceful. We were just, you know, chanting with our signs, like marching throughout downtown. We ended up just leaving, going home around 7:30. And then I later on see, like once it got dark, I later on see on social media, there was somebody that drove through the crowd and hit a young woman, and that she was in the hospital in critical condition.
You didn't see it?
I didn't see it. I saw it on social media.
After the fact.
Got
it.
And it was it happened, I believe, in front of Lake Alice, like that area.
Oh yeah.
Like kind of close to the menagerie, like Orange and University.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
It happened
like in front of
area.
like Worthingtons and stuff. Okay.
Yeah. So, and I was like, oh fuck, like that sucks. And when I saw the news report on it, they reported on it in a fashion where they were like saying this without saying it. Well, look at these protesters hitting this person's car. They shouldn't have been in the street.
Copy that.
And I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Because I had seen the full video. This person had been antagonizing the protesters beforehand, which is why they were hitting his car.
Yeah.
And when they hit his car, then yeah, okay, he panicked or whatever and just fucking took off. In the process, hitting and running over somebody who wasn't even doing anything to his car. And
yeah, but they were lumped into it.
Yeah, just because they were part of the protest.
Yeah. Well, they were looking for a reason, and they felt they found one.
Yeah. And this girl, 21 years old, recently had turned 21. And for some reason, even though they had this person's license plate, they had like a video of the whole ordeal happening. They decided to report on it in this manner. And that's why I'm just like, always look shit up on your own. Don't trust this shit that you're seeing. Like,
yeah, it's funny you say that because I mean, I wasn't there.
Yeah.
And I had seen that after the fact too. In the video I saw, it looked like the antagonizers were people that were at the protest, like some of the protesters.
Yeah, that's what it comes off as.
Yeah, and I could see, dude, it's very easily, because it really opens up like that. And they're very much antagonizing the person in that vehicle.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like you could see it. But my brain acknowledges that this is the start of the video. Typically, that means because there's some shit that had been occurring prior to what we're now exposed to through when this video started, right?
Mm-hmm.
Are they reacting to something that this person did first to cause them to approach the car in that fashion? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's where my brain goes. You know, it's easy to see it as like they're fucking with the guy in the truck. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like,
and it could come off as that because, like I said, we were marching or like walking in the streets, and there were cars coming through, but there was no like, almost everybody like was like giving us thumbs up, or like they were recording us with their cell phone and being like, yeah. Some people even had like signs in their car.
Yeah, we had somebody had popped up behind us when we were driving home, from the game because we had a tournament, and we were on the corner of Colette and Riverwalk, about to make a left, and the car behind us was like, and there's cars honking, blah, 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 you know, and Joseph was and Ryan, they're like, what's that? You know, what's going on? I looked in the rearview mirror, and I could see they had signs pulling out, and like one of them said like, if you voted for Trump, your mom was a hoe, like shit like that, you know what I mean? And we were like, hell yeah, fuck yeah, blah blah blah, boop, boop, boop. You know, we honked back and shit. You know, it was tight.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, I mean, it's easy to see like how they were the antagonizers, but like I said, it's call me a critical thinker, you know. But like, I can't help but to be like, okay, what happened before the video started, and like, are they reacting to something that happened? You know.
Yeah.
And then it just makes me think about like the Kyle Rittenhouse thing. You know, something similar. Like you're seeing these people attack this dude, right? And he defended himself with a rifle, right? And that's the justification. That's, you know, how the story went. But it's kind of like you were looking for a reason.
Yeah.
You put yourself in a position to find your reason. And I can't help but to look at the person who was driving that truck in the same way. Like in Charleston, you know?
Yeah.
Was it the tiki torch fools, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, luckily they finally caught the guy.
That's good.
Caught him, and his partner, this woman, I guess, helped him like try to get rid of the car. They like try to dump it in feedland or something.
Yeah, yeah, which is destroying evidence.
Yeah.
So knowing those facts, how is it not like apparent that they were looking for a reason?
I don't know, dude.
Why destroy evidence if you didn't commit a crime?
I don't know, dude.
You know what I mean?
Well, they shouldn't have been in the street. That's all. That's the argument.
Is there a fucking victim from walking to the street? No. Shut the fuck up, dude.
Yeah.
Like you look for you knew. It was all over.
Yeah.
It was all over the internet. You knew.
You could have planned your way around that area.
You did not. You deliberately went down that street in your dumbass truck, instigating, trying to get a reaction out of somebody so that you can justify your violence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the girl's name is Alexa Carrasco, 21 years old. And I believe she's still in the hospital in
Yeah.
a medically induced coma.
Medically induced coma?
Yeah, because of the injuries.
How can we help?
I believe there's a GoFundMe, so I'll include the link in the bio. But I believe there's a GoFundMe for her. So.
Okay.
But yeah, dude. It just, seeing that, the way it was reported on, that shit pissed me off.
Well, I'm going to call it a divine airstrike on her, dude.
That's right.
It's a prayer joke.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So I'm going to end it with a System of a Down quote.
Okay.
You can't afford to be neutral on a moving train.
Amen.
It's from the song Dear Dance off of Toxicity, which is a song about police brutality against peaceful protesters.
Yeah. That's the one that goes,
beyond the Staples Center, you can see America with its abhor avenging disgrace. Peaceful loving youth against the brutality of plastic existence, pushing little children with their fully automatics. They like to push the weak around. See everybody next time.
Bye.